Chapter 1977. Yes, that's right. Jingyu nodded and waved the box made of natural silk in her hand. I'm looking for this to change the bowstring. I think you'll like it. Jingyu stared at the thing hanging on the wall. It was a long bow covered in a thick layer of dust. Jingyu carefully reached out and took the bow down. He blew away the dust on the bow and wiped it clean with his sleeve. The pattern on the bow was revealed. Such a domineering totem, and the ink-red color showed that it was an exquisite longbow. Ninth sister-in-law, look. Jingyu raised the bow and held it. With a soft sound, Jingyu and Xiaochen suddenly saw two cold sharp blades pop out from the bow. They were like wings on the bow, extremely domineering. Hiss. Jingyu sucked in a breath of cold air when she saw this scene. This longbow is called the Extreme Ink Bow. It was made by the most famous weapon master 50 years ago. However, not everyone can use this longbow. Jingyu said seriously, if this longbow is used properly, it can be used to assassinate from a distance and kill people in close combat. The bowstring is made of natural silk. It's a sharp weapon for killing people. Jingyu touched the longbow gently and faintly said, Master said that this was left behind by my father before he died. I've been thinking about who can use this longbow. Now it seems that ninth sister-in-law is the most suitable one. Jingyu looked at Jingyu with emotion and handed the longbow to her. Jingyu reached out and took it. The moment she held the longbow, Jingyu suddenly felt an incomparable killing intent. Good bow. Jingyu praised deeply. This longbow was obviously stained with blood. Ninth sister-in-law, come with me. I remember that I still have arrows in my room. Jingyu looked at Jingyu's fondness and frowned with satisfaction. He led Jingyu and Xiaochen outside. Jingyu and Xiaochen looked at each other and followed. Jingyu went into his study and rummaged around. It seemed that he had forgotten where this thing was. Jingyu and Xiaochen stood at the door and waited. Ku'er came over with little watermelon. When she saw Jingyu and Xiaochen, she raised her eyebrows. What is Jingyu looking for? Ku'er looked at Jingyu and Xiaochen's dusty appearance, then looked at the longbow in Jingyu's hand. She immediately raised her eyebrows and asked in confusion. Ku'er, you came at the right time. Jingyu, who was rummaging in the room, saw Ku'er and asked happily, Do you still remember the arrow feather that I found when I was tidying up the room? Where did you put it? Arrow feather? Ku'er was slightly surprised. She looked at Jingyu and said, Didn't you throw it under the bed? That's right. Jingyu suddenly realized and hurriedly ran into the room. Jingyu and Xiaochen both frowned. This guy was really, when Jingyu came out, he was carrying a large box. He quickly walked in front of Jingyu and Xiaochen and said happily, I found it. This is it. Ninth sister-in-law. Jingyu took out the arrow feather as if he was presenting a treasure. Jingyu looked at the arrow feather in a daze. Chapter 1978. Could it be that this wasn't an ordinary arrow feather that couldn't be more ordinary? Jingyu frowned in confusion. She looked at the arrow feather in front of her and looked at Jingyu strangely. Jingyu took out the arrow feather from the box and handed it to Jingyu. Ninth sister-in-law, look carefully. Jingyu looked at Jingji's serious expression and frowned slightly. She reached out to take the arrow feather and looked at it carefully. Finally, Jingyu discovered that this seemingly intact arrow had actually cracked? No, it didn't seem to be as simple as cracking. Ninth sister-in-law, try to shoot an arrow. Jingji's lips curled into a smile as he instructed Jingyu, be sure to aim properly. Shoot at that tree. Jingyu nodded slightly. Don't use too much strength. Jingyu said again silently. Jingyu nodded slightly and held the arrow up. She suddenly shot it out. The arrow streaked across the sky, and under Jingyu and Xiaochen's stunned gaze, the arrow split into three in midair. It was firmly nailed to the trunk of the tree. Hiss. Jingyu looked at this scene and suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air. This isn't one arrow, it's three. Jingyu looked at Jingyu and Xiaochen's expressions and nodded with satisfaction. Seeing that Xiaochen and Jingyu were so shocked, Jingyu raised his head proudly. Good heavens! Jingyu ran to the trunk and saw that there were three arrows firmly nailed to the tree. Probably because Jingyu didn't control her strength well, Only one arrow was nailed to the trunk. As for the other 2 arrows, one had pierced through the bark and was stuck slanted. The other arrow was hanging on the bark and would fall at any time. Jingyu looked at the 3 arrows and raised her hand to pull them out. She then realized that the arrow feather was split and had a different shape. It wasn't round. So the arrow feather gate is here. Jingyu's eyes lit up. Qinggu and Xiaochen also walked over with faint smiles in their eyes. Ninth sister-in-law, what do you think of this gift? Qinggu looked at Jingyu with a smile and said, this set of bow and arrows was made by the most famous weapon event. No one used it before, but now it has finally found an owner. Qinggu, this is what your father left for you. Jingyu frowned and said, although she liked it very much, when she thought that Qingji's father had left it for him. Ha! Qinggu looked deeply at Jingyu and said, if my father knew that this treasure had found an owner, he would be very happy. Ninth sister-in-law, this thing is suitable for you. Jingyu opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but she was stopped by Qinggu. He looked at Jingyu seriously and said, ninth sister-in-law is half a teacher to me. If you don't want to accept it, why don't you promise me one thing? Qinggu seemed to have thought of something and asked Jingyu carefully. Go ahead. Jingyu nodded slightly and answered seriously. It's like this. Qinggu felt strange when he was about to say it. He looked at Jingyu carefully and asked, ninth sister-in-law, can I give these things to the disciples of Miracle Physician Valley for the surgery that you gave me? I promise. The people in Miracle Medical Valley will definitely not leak it out. Qinggu looked at Jingyu very seriously and said with a hint of nervousness in his words. Chapter 1979. That's it. Jingyu frowned when she heard Qingji's words. She looked at Qinggu and asked, that's all you wanted to tell me? Qinggu smiled shyly and said, I've always kept this a secret. Master asked me where I learned it, but I didn't tell him. I also didn't show this skill to anyone. Jingyu looked at Qinggu speechlessly. She sighed and said, I was willing to give this to you so that you could pass on this skill. I didn't expect you to keep it. This time, Qinggu was stunned. He looked at Jingyu with fear and asked, I can give it to someone else? Of course. Jingyu looked at Qinggu with a smile and said, I only know how to perform simple surgeries. I can't teach you much. But you're so smart, you'll definitely learn more. In the future, it's only a matter of time before you can perform craniotomy and replace the brain. Qingji's eyes widened when he heard Jingyu's words. He looked at Jingyu with fear and asked, can I really do that? No one dared to say that they could perform craniotomy and replace the brain. But now, Jingyu said it out loud. It was so frightening, and it made people's blood boil. Yes. Jingyu nodded firmly. She looked at Qingji's fiery eyes and suddenly thought of something. She said with a serious expression, but there's one thing I hope you can remember. Ninth sister-in-law, please say it. Qinggu looked at Jingyu and suddenly became serious. I hope you can remember that you're just a doctor. You can't just stand by and watch if you can save someone. If the treatment fails and leads to death, you've done your best. I don't want you to play with people's lives and conduct research. Jingyu looked at Qinggu. If I find out that you've turned this surgery into a life-threatening research, I won't hesitate to kill you, or even all of you. Jingyu's words were full of murderous intent. She didn't hide anything and said it directly. It was normal for Jingyu to have such thoughts. In modern times, there were many medical geniuses who did not hesitate to sacrifice countless lives in order to research something. They kept saying that they should support this research. This was the scene that Jingyu did not want to see the most. So, to prevent this from happening, Jingyu had to give Qinggu a warning. Qinggu has learned his lesson. When Qinggu heard Jingyu's words, he was shocked. This kind of situation could really happen, especially under such circumstances. How many people in Miracle Physician Valley studied medicine their whole lives? If you want to do research, you should get the consent of the patient's family and yourself, or be willing to donate the body. Jingyu looked at Qinggu with burning eyes and said, in the future, you'll know that any organ in the human body can be exchanged. But before you come into contact with this field, don't try it. You'll be in big trouble. Jingyu looked at Qinggu seriously. I understand. Qinggu nodded solemnly. From Jing Yu's words, he could feel the mystery of medicine. There were too many things waiting for Qinggu to discover and research. Chapter 1980. Then, how did Jing Yu know all this? Qinggu had never thought about it because in Qing Ji's eyes, Jing Yu knew all this as if it was a very normal thing. This feeling, he didn't know why, but it was just so natural. Is this your request? Jing Yu asked in confusion. Perhaps this isn't much to ninth sister-in-law, but to Miracle Physician Valley and the entire world, this will be the most significant change in the medical world in history, Qinggu said solemnly as he bowed to Jing Yu. This is something that can't be measured by money. Seeing Qinggu like this, Jing Yu felt embarrassed. She lowered her head and waved her hand. You don't have to be so polite. Since you've said so, I'll accept these things. Now is not the time to decline. The land of the Miao Stockade village is extremely dangerous. These are my protective talismans. Jing Yu smiled and said happily. Ninth sister-in-law, if you need anything, just let me know, Qinggu said bluntly. Xiao Chen frowned at the side. He looked at Jing Yu and Qinggu and said unhappily, why do I feel like I'm an outsider? Jing Yu and Qinggu both laughed when Xiao Chen said that. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen returned from a rewarding journey. Jing Yu studied the longbow and arrow like they were treasures, while Xiao Chen played with the arrow in his sleeve. He didn't expect there to be so many treasures in Miracle Physician Valley. These aren't much. Xiao Chen seemed to know what Jing Yu was thinking. He put down the arrow calmly and turned to look at Jing Yu. The amount of poison in Miracle Physician Valley isn't inferior to the poison sect. I know. Jing Yu silently put down the things and turned to look at Xiao Chen, saying, these can save people and also kill people. Doctors are really scary. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows slightly. After a moment of silence, he said seriously, in another 4 to 5 days, the disciplinary guards will be outside the Miracle Physician Valley. It's time for us to set off. Jing Yu nodded her head slowly. There was a faint light in her dark eyes as she said, it's time to put an end to this. The news about you has already been sent back to the Imperial City. I believe that the Empress and Shangguan Linglan have also received it. I wonder if Third Xing will be able to bring a letter when he comes. Xiao Chen tilted his head slightly and looked at Jing Yu as he spoke. As long as Miaoqiu and Linglan don't have to worry. Is Big Brother and the others all right? Jing Yu slowly sighed in relief as she looked at Xiao Chen and asked. Sister-in-law gave birth to a little son. Shangguan Linglan gave birth to 2 daughters. They're twins. Xiao Chen said calmly. Jing Yu's eyes widened when she heard this. Then, as if she had thought of something, she looked at Xiao Chen with hidden bitterness. Why didn't he let her give birth to 2 children at once? How envious, jealous, and hateful. Jing Yu sighed deeply. Xiao Chen silently turned his head away and didn't say a word. Just as Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were talking, they heard a knock on the door. Then Xue Hao's voice rang out. Jing Yu immediately raised her voice to let him in. Valley Lord, what brings you here today? Jing Yu raised her hand slightly, indicating for Xue Hao to sit down and talk. Xue Hao sat down on a chair and placed the things in his hands on the table. Chapter 1981. I'm here to give something to the 9th Imperial Concubine, Xue Hao said as he raised his eyebrows. Give something? Jing Yu was stunned when she heard this. She turned to look at the box on the table and looked at Xue Hao with a puzzled look in her eyes. I heard that the 9th Imperial Concubine and the 9th Emperors found the heavenly silk in the valley? Xue Hao smiled and asked Jing Yu. Jing Yu raised her eyebrows and nodded. She looked at Xue Hao strangely and asked, does the heavenly silk belong to you? You're here to ask me for the heavenly silk? Jing Yu stared at Xue Hao with her eyes wide open. Xue Hao was the Valley Master of Miracle Medical Valley. Everything belonged to him. Of course not. Xue Hao laughed when he heard Jing Yu's words. He said calmly, I'm here to give this to the 9th Imperial Concubine. This is? Jing Yu asked as she watched Xue Hao push the box to her. She frowned and stared at Xue Hao. This is the heavenly silk wrist guard. Xue Hao watched Jing Yu open the box and said calmly, I got this wrist guard by chance. I've always kept it by my side. It's useless. Since the 9th imperial concubine was lucky enough to find the heavenly silk, it's a perfect match with this wrist guard. Heavenly silk wrist guard. Jing Yu paused when she heard this name. She frowned as if she thought of something. When Jing Yu got the heavenly silk, Qingge mentioned this heavenly silk wrist guard, right? That's right. Shui Hao nodded slowly. He looked at the silver wrist guard and said calmly, I believe you'll know the use of this wrist guard. Jing Yu silently picked up the sky silkworm wristband. The silver wristband looked very exquisite, and there were layers of hidden compartments on the wristband. Place the natural silkworm silk in here and tie it to this hidden hook. It can be ejected out and hook onto external objects, shooting out the natural silkworm silk. Shui Hao gave a brief introduction. Jing Yu watched it and studied it for a while. Suddenly her eyes widened. This wrist guard is so high-tech. It seemed a little simple, but for Jing Yu, who had no internal strength at all and didn't know Qigong, it was simply an invincible good thing. Jing Yu studied it silently for a moment before she suddenly looked up at Shui Hao and Xiao Chen and asked, This natural silkworm silk is so thin. It won't break, right? Xiao Chen. Shui Hao. After Shui Hao left, Jing Yu carefully put the natural silkworm silk into the wrist guard. She looked at the wrist guard on her hand. It was so fitting, and it was a pair of half-black gloves. Jing Yu was instantly satisfied. Good heavens, this is so cool. Regardless of whether it's the wrist guard or the gloves, they're made of extremely special materials. They won't cut your hands, Xiao Chen said with a slight smile when he saw how happy Jing Yu was. Using the natural silkworm silk to kill people seems pretty good, Jing Yu replied with a smile. Everyone naturally knew that Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were about to leave. Although Little Potato and Little Watermelon weren't very sensible, they seemed to have sensed something. During the few days when Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were about to leave, they were especially close to Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. Jing Yu was very reluctant to part with them, but she couldn't do anything about it. Xing San arrived quickly. After sleeping for more than a year, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen finally stepped out of Miracle Physician Valley. Shui Hao and Yuan Yang sent them off at the door. Ke's eyes were filled with worry. Chapter 1982. However, she didn't say anything to persuade them to stay. Her resolute expression made Shui Hao and Yuan Yang feel gratified. Ke Qingge has always been blessed. He will come back safely. As Qingge, Yuan Yang should have said something at this time. Ke lowered her eyes slightly when she heard Yuan Yang's words. I know. Ke raised her eyebrows. She didn't go with Qingge this time because she would stay in the valley and wait for him to come back with the child. Ke reached out and touched her belly. Before Qingge left, Ke didn't tell Qingge that she was pregnant. She knew that Qingge, Xiao Chen, and Jing Yu couldn't turn a blind eye to the matters in Miaojiang. If she told Qingge, she would be more worried. Ke raised her eyebrows and followed Shui Hao and Yuan Yang back. She felt a lot more at ease when she felt the child in her belly. On the other side, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen each carried a child and walked out of the valley. They saw a patch of fog in front of them and it didn't seem like there was a path at all. Then, Qingge stepped forward and turned off something on the ground. The fog dissipated little by little. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen looked up and saw that the fog above Miracle Medical Valley had dissipated. Their eyes were filled with surprise. This was the first time Jing Yu knew that Miracle Medical Valley was so powerful. It was no wonder that they couldn't find Miracle Medical Valley even if they wanted to. It was really amazing. After that, they went around in circles in the forest. Jing Yu thought that they were going around in circles, but when she saw the subtle changes in the surrounding scenery, it didn't seem like they were going around in circles. They set off early in the morning and walked for an entire day before they saw the exit of the forest. This was even when Xiao Chen and Jing Yu were riding horses. When Jing Yu turned to look at the vast forest again, she suddenly felt that Miracle Medical Valley was too hidden. We're out. Qingge looked at the blue sky. The sky was getting darker and darker. On the road, they could see people walking or riding horses. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen each carried a child and held the reins in their hands as they walked forward slowly. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes as he looked at the small town not far away and said calmly, "The small town that the guards arrived at is just ahead. Let's go. The children are probably tired and hungry. Let's go in quickly." Jing Yu frowned slightly as she looked at Xiao Chen and said. Xiao Chen nodded in response. Qing Gu wanted to cry but no tears came out. He was the one who was hungry and tired. Along the way, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen didn't want to rest at all. They protected the children in their arms well. Qing Gu wanted to listen but no one responded. He could only accept his fate and continue walking until they were out of the forest. In this small town, people came and went. Jing Yu looked at the bustling scene and suddenly felt a little dazed. She narrowed her eyes and looked into the distance. When they entered the city, Jing Yu saw the two familiar people standing on the road. "Master!" The people standing there were naturally Interrogation Officer 3 and Interrogation Officer 15. When they saw Xiao Chen, they quickly went forward and bowed. Then, their gazes landed on Jing Yu. They looked at the familiar face of Jing Yu standing in front of them. It was so vivid. Chapter 1983. Madam. 3rd Xing and 15th Xing bowed excitedly. "No need to be so courteous. Long time no see." Jing Yu nodded slightly at the two of them. Her eyes were very calm. That pair of pitch-black eyes were no longer golden-green, which made the two of them dazed for a moment. Then, they bowed and led Xiao Chen and Jing Yu into the inn. After running around for a day, they could finally rest. After feeding the two little fellows, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen went to eat, leaving the secret guards in the room to look after the children. The children had just eaten their fill, so of course, they didn't want to sleep. Thus, they crawled around the bed and played. The bed was filled with all kinds of toys that Qing Gu had brought. The two children were having a lot of fun playing with them. However, as they played, they suddenly stopped. The two children looked suspiciously at the two masked men in black standing by the bed. That? Little Potato looked at the two men in black in a daze. After hesitating for a long time, he suddenly called out to them. When he called out "Dad," the two of them almost knelt down. "Eldest young master, we didn't," one of them said quietly, holding back a strange feeling. "I want to hear a story." Little Potato didn't care what this person said. With his pink little face, he stared at the guard in front of him and said, "Uncle Qing Gu can tell stories. Tell me one too." Little Potato seemed to be very happy. Without a care in the world, he straightened his body and stared at the two guards in front of him with a serious expression. Little Watermelon also tried his best to crawl to Little Potato's side. He widened his green eyes and looked at the two guards. The two guards looked at Little Potato, who was staring at them. They instantly frowned and looked at each other. Then they held their breaths and racked their brains. How were they supposed to tell this story? They only knew how to kill people. Were they supposed to tell these two little masters how to kill people? Without a doubt, if they said that, they would definitely be beaten to death by their masters. The room was filled with silence. "I want to hear a story. I want to hear a story." When Little Potato saw that the two guards were silent, he pouted and was about to cry. His eyes were filled with tears, and the two guards were stunned. "What? I want to hear a story." Sob, sob, sob. "The bad guy won't tell me the story. I want Daddy and Mommy." Little Potato burst into tears. Little Watermelon, who was prepared to listen to the story, silently turned around and crawled to the side after hearing Little Potato's cry. After Little Potato cried for a while, he turned his head and saw that Little Watermelon had stopped crying. His face was still wet with tears. He blinked his eyes and looked at Little Watermelon, asking confusedly, "Why aren't you crying?" "Little Watermelon, why aren't you talking to me?" Little Potato saw that Little Watermelon was ignoring him, and he felt even more wronged. "Little Watermelon, I don't know how to speak yet, okay?" Little Potato saw that Little Watermelon was ignoring him and instantly got angry. He reached out and snatched the toy in Little Watermelon's hand. Little Watermelon wasn't angry and continued to play with another toy on the bed. Little Potato snatched it again. After a round of fighting, all the toys on the bed were snatched by Little Potato. Chapter 1984. Little Watermelon sat on the bed and blinked at Little Potato. He didn't say anything. All right, I'll give you one. Little Potato seemed to think that he was very generous. He took out a toy that he didn't like from the pile of things that he had taken and handed it to Little Watermelon. Little Watermelon looked at the thing that was handed over. His pink face was full of disdain. He didn't even reach out to take it. Instead, he quietly crawled to the side and fell asleep. Little Potato also saw that his thing wasn't taken and was instantly unhappy. He insisted on giving the thing to Little Watermelon. Little Watermelon threw it away in disdain. Little Potato stuffed it in again. In the end, Little Watermelon seemed to be angry. He pulled Little Potato onto the bed and looked like he was going to sleep together with him. Little Potato struggled for a while but realized that he couldn't break free. Then, he kicked the things on the bed away with his short legs and fell asleep contentedly. The two people standing by the bed silently twitched their lips. They reached out and covered the two little guys with the blanket. Downstairs, Jingyu and Xiaochen had just finished their meal. Jingyu leaned on the chair calmly and lowered her eyes quietly. Do you understand what this king said? Xiaochen's voice was very calm and cold. Only Xing-san and 15th will be coming to Miaojiang this time. The rest will be escorting the two young masters back to the imperial city. Yes, Xing-san replied with his head bowed. Go and prepare well. We will set off early tomorrow morning, Xiaochen said coldly. Xiaochen, will the children really be fine in the imperial city? Jingyu asked worriedly. She still felt uneasy. However, seeing Xiaochen like this, she thought that nothing would happen. Xiaochen seemed to know what Jingyu was worried about. He calmly reached out and held Jingyu's hand. Don't worry. Xiaochen looked at Jingyu quietly and said, the child has the protection of the imperial guards. She will be even safer after returning to the imperial city. You don't have to worry. Since Xiaochen said so, it should be fine. You, on the other hand. Xiaochen turned to look at Jingyu and said, more than a year ago, I announced your death to the world. I thought that if you were to hide, you would be a great weapon. Jingyu's mouth twitched when she heard Xiaochen's words. What did Xiaochen just say? Announcing her death to the world. In other words, she was a dead person now? What the hell? Jingyu looked at Xiaochen with a conflicted expression. Looking at the latter's calm and serious expression, the corners of her mouth twitched violently. She simply couldn't stop herself from wanting to kill someone. So, she was a dead person now? Why didn't I think of this? Qinggu looked at Jingyu happily and said, now that everyone thinks that ninth sister-in-law is dead, there might be a surprise if ninth sister-in-law hides. Moreover, ninth sister-in-law's eyes are black now, so it will be easier for her to hide. Jingyu was speechless. Looking at Qinggu and Xiaochen nodding seriously, Jingyu sighed deeply and didn't say a word. It seemed that it was too late to say anything now, right? When Jingyu and Qinggu returned to the room, they saw the two children sleeping soundly. The two secret guards in charge of watching over them silently bowed when they saw Jingyu and Xiaochen. Chapter 1985. Let's go. Xiaochen waved his hand slightly. Looking at Jingyu accompanying the child, he raised his eyebrows slightly. He was silent for a moment, but he didn't say anything. Jingyu knew that she was about to leave the child. Jingyu must be feeling bad in her heart. She didn't stop her. She quietly accompanied Jingyu and the child. They waited for the whole night. When the child woke up, they helped him put on his clothes. Outside the inn, when they were about to leave, Little Watermelon was expressionless, but Little Potato was wailing loudly. Jingyu almost couldn't hold back and wanted to carry Little Potato away. Fortunately, she was stopped by Xiaochen. They left resolutely. But these pitiful secret guards, who were all grown men, stiffly carried their children and looked at each other in dismay. What should they do if the young master kept crying? A few secret guards held the child and looked at each other. They silently took out things for Little Potato to play with. They either let him eat something or let him cry. Otherwise, they put the two children together. Little Potato was really too noisy, but this was what a child should be like. Little Watermelon was different. He would occasionally cry either because he had pooped, or because he was hungry, or because he wanted to do something, but no one paid attention to him. He was much better than Little Potato. With a child in tow, the secret guards couldn't be separated. Thus, they slowly made their way to the imperial city. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were heading towards Miaojiang. They just had to pass through the grassland. Miaojiang had been banished by the people of the mainland to a very desolate place because of the cultivation of venomous insects. Not only was the journey long, but the border was also heavily guarded. If they didn't go in, the people of Miaojiang naturally wouldn't come out. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen didn't want to alarm the people of Miaojiang. Since they were going in to steal people, it was better to be careful. If they could sneak in, of course, it would be good. After walking for a while, we will reach the last city at the border. From the main road, a few figures slowly appeared. The familiar faces, the familiar robes, these people were naturally Xiao Chen and Jing Yu. The group was all dressed in black. As for why they were dressed in black, ninth sister-in-law, why are you always dressed in black like ninth brother? Qing Gu looked at Jing Yu, who was also dressed in black, and suddenly frowned. Because black clothes aren't dirty, Jing Yu looked at Qing Gu very seriously and said, "Do you like to wash clothes every day?" Qing Gu silently shut up. What she said made sense. However, no matter what clothes she wore, Qing Gu didn't seem to have seen Jing Yu wash clothes. It was also because of this incident that Qing Gu also changed into black clothes. Qing Gu looked at the four people who were dressed in black while he was dressed in a different color. He inexplicably felt that he didn't seem to be the same kind of people, so Qing Gu decisively changed. Needless to say, after wearing black clothes, Qing Gu himself had a cool feeling. At this moment, the five of them were walking on the road. They let the horses drink water and eat grass. After resting for a while, they continued on their journey. These few days it was really comfortable. They didn't meet any enemies, but they met a group of bandits. However, after the bandits jumped out, they saw that Jing Yu and others didn't even have a bag on them. They really didn't know what to rob. Chapter 1986. They had inexplicably bypassed Jing Yu's group and robbed the carriage behind Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's group. This incident was a huge blow to Jing Yu. They were actually despised by the bandits. Originally, Jing Yu had been sleeping for a year. Now that she finally came out, it was time for her to show off her skills. However, she did not expect that she did not even have a chance to fight. Jing Yu had not fought for a long time and her hands were itching for a fight. This was the last city. After passing through this city, they would reach the border. After walking out of the border, they would enter the wilderness under the jurisdiction of the five people. If they continued to go deeper, they would reach the Miaojiang. Looking at the city in front of them, Jing Yu frowned deeply. This city was really dilapidated. No one came here all year round. It is normal for it to be so desolate. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes slightly. After looking at the city in front of them, he unconsciously frowned. "Let's go," Jing Yu said very calmly. Step by step, she walked towards the city wall. Maybe it was because the people here had not seen anyone for a long time, or maybe it was because Jing Yu and her group were dressed too strangely. In any case, they attracted the attention of these people. When Xiao Chen and Jing Yu entered the city, they rode on their horses and found that these people had been staring at them. These people? Why do they keep staring at us? Jing Yu frowned and turned to look at Xiao Chen and asked. "I don't know." Xiao Chen was silent for a moment before answering. "Is there something on our faces?" In order to cover her face, Jing Yu put on a mask. Xiao Chen also put on a mask. Jing Yu did not hide that she was a woman. However, she carried a longbow on her back and wore black gloves on her hands. For some reason, Jing Yu looked like a female bodyguard in this state. On the other hand, Qing Gu was acting like a manservant. Only Xiao Chen had a lofty look on his face. It was as if he was the leader of a sect on a trip. Just look at this posture, just look at this aura. It was simply impossible for the crowd on the street not to watch. So, why are these people looking at us like that? Jing Yu originally thought that it was because they were riding horses, so she casually asked everyone to dismount. But now that everyone had dismounted, the situation in front of her didn't seem to have changed. The people who should be watching continued watching until Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others entered the inn. "Guests, are you here to eat or stay?" As soon as Jing Yu and Xiao Chen walked in, The shopkeeper's eyes lit up as if he had met an important guest. He warmly invited them in. Jingyu looked at the shopkeeper and felt that this place was like a town. Rooms. Prepare some food first. Jingyu said straightforwardly. Just as she was about to give them 5 rooms, Xiao Chen, who was standing at the side, said very quietly, 4 rooms. The shopkeeper was stunned. He looked at Xiao Chen and then at Jingyu, the only woman in the group. He immediately nodded and decisively gave them 4 rooms. Jingyu stood at the side. When she saw this scene, Jingyu immediately frowned. Why did she feel an incomparably strange feeling? She was very unhappy. Only when the delicious food was served did Jingyu feel a little better. Satisfied, Jingyu ate the food. Chapter 1987. It was just that, she suddenly felt that it tasted awful. It wasn't even as good as Xiao Chen's porridge. She was probably really spoiled. How boring! Jingyu sighed deeply. After casually eating a bit, the shopkeeper eagerly poured tea for them. He looked at Jingyu and Xiao Chen before asking, "May I ask where you're going?" "Nothing." Jingyu turned to look at the shopkeeper. "We're just going to look for something." "Wasn't it looking for something? Looking for something like Madame Nye?" "Oh." The shopkeeper said considerately, "I see that you're from out of town. The city hasn't been peaceful these past few days, so please don't go out at night." "Peaceful?" When Jingyu heard this, she instantly raised her brows in curiosity. She looked at the shopkeeper strangely and asked, "Could there be thieves in the city?" Jingyu's brows instantly lit up when she said this. Her hands had been itching for a long time. It'd be great if there really were thieves. The shopkeeper sighed helplessly. "The city hasn't been peaceful. I don't know what's going on exactly, but in the past 6 months, there have always been people going missing for no reason. Since the few of you are just passing by, you should rest early and look harmonious." After the shopkeeper finished speaking, he put down the teapot and told her to call if she needed anything. Jingyu accepted politely. When she turned around, her eyes were filled with interest. Xiao Chen looked at Jingyu and frowned. After a deep sigh, he knew that Jingyu had thought of something fun again. "Third Xing, go and find out what the shopkeeper is talking about." Xiao Chen turned to Third Xing and said calmly. Third Xing nodded respectfully. "Wait." Hearing this, Qinggu hurriedly pulled Third Xing back and said, "Leave things like gathering information to me." Qinggu stood up righteously. Jingyu, Xiao Chen, and the others frowned when they saw Qingji's eagerness. Qinggu must be joking, right? "Ninth brother, don't worry. I'll definitely bring the news back," Qinggu said seriously. After that he ran away, leaving Xiao Chen and Jingyu in a dilemma. "Master, do you really not need me to go and take a look?" Third Xing knew that Qinggu did not know any martial arts. If he went out like this, wouldn't it be too dangerous? "Nothing." Xiao Chen silently raised his hand and picked up the teacup. He took a sip and said, "Although Qinggu doesn't know martial arts, he has a lot of good things on him. Ordinary people can't hurt him." "Good things?" When Jingyu heard Xiao Chen's words, she blinked her eyes curiously. Xiao Chen silently raised his eyebrows and said, "Qinggu took a lot of things from the Miracle Medical Valley's warehouse." Jingyu's face darkened when she heard this. So it was like that. Since Qinggu had volunteered to scout, Jingyu and Xiao Chen naturally waited here. However, after waiting for a long time, Qinggu did not return. Just as Jingyu was thinking about whether to send someone to take a look, she realized that the originally quiet street had suddenly become chaotic. What's going on? Jingyu, Xiao Chen, and the others were instantly attracted to the commotion. Jingyu furrowed her brows tightly. Chapter 1988. Looking at the people on the street running in the same direction, they could vaguely hear someone shouting something about a monster and murder. Jingyu and Xiao Chen immediately frowned. They stood up abruptly and rushed out. The shopkeeper was a kind person. When he saw Jingyu and the others running out, he hurriedly called out to Jingyu and the others. However, Jingyu and Xiao Chen ignored him and ran out. The shopkeeper was also anxious, but he didn't chase after them. After all, they were strangers. Naturally, he wouldn't risk his life to chase after them. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen ran back when they saw the crowd. However, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen rushed forward. When they saw Jing Yu and Xiao Chen, they knew that they were strangers. Therefore, no one paid any attention to them. When Jing Yu and Xiao Chen arrived at the scene of the incident, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. There were 2 corpses lying on the street. One of the corpses was completely torn apart. The other corpse was that of a child. Qinggu was squatting beside the child. His face was full of anxiety, as if he wanted to save the child. Qinggu! Jing Yu suddenly called out. When Qinggu turned his head and saw Jing Yu and Xiao Chen, his eyes lit up. "Ninth brother, ninth sister-in-law, come and help me." Jing Yu felt very conflicted when she heard Qingji's call. However, she still ran over and looked at the dying child in Qingji's arms. "It's useless." Jing Yu looked at the child and shook her head slightly. Looking at the child's chest, which was almost completely caved in, she did not need to think to know that the child's organs were all shattered. It was obvious that he had been crushed by a great force. The mess in front of her and the blood on the ground made Jing Yu frown. "What's going on?" Jing Yu frowned when she saw the situation in front of her. Qinggu tried his best to save the child, but he couldn't. He could only watch as the child died with his eyes wide open. "It seems that something that was locked up here escaped. I came too late and didn't see what it was. I only saw the child for a moment, but he was already like this." Qinggu sighed deeply. He reached out to close the child's eyes and wiped the blood off his hands. "I feel that this town is very strange." Jing Yu frowned and turned to look at Xiao Chen. "This is supposed to be the border, but why don't I see any soldiers? Why are the people in this town so strange as well?" "Ninth sister-in-law, the soldiers and officials here left 3 months ago." Qinggu heard Jing Yu's puzzled words and said, "I heard that half a year ago, a small plague suddenly appeared in the town and a small number of people died. But later, they were controlled. But what they didn't expect was that after that, ghosts suddenly appeared. They came out in the middle of the night to eat people, and they couldn't catch them no matter how hard they tried. The officials were afraid and ran away with their men, leaving these people here." "Ghosts?" Jing Yu frowned when she heard Qingji's words. "I heard that there were ghosts that ate people. Many people were scared out of their wits and committed suicide by hanging themselves in the river. People went to salvage the bodies or put the bodies in the mourning hall. However, they were all eaten by the monsters the next day," Qinggu said with a deep frown. Chapter 1989. I don't know if this is true or not, but looking at this, it seems to be true. Qinggu looked at the mess on the ground with a serious expression. What kind of monster eats humans? Jing Yu couldn't help but think of that scene in her mind, and her stomach started to churn. "Master, look." Just as Jing Yu was deep in thought, Third Xing suddenly pointed at the spider crawling on the ground and called out. That was a colored spider. With such a bright color, one could tell that it was not a good thing with just one look. "Poisonous spider." Jing Yu narrowed her eyes slightly. "Miaojiang." Xiao Chen slowly narrowed his eyes. Jing Yu's heart trembled violently. Could it be that the things that happened in this town were related to Miaojiang? "Looks like we need to stay here for a few days." Jing Yu looked up slightly and looked at the sky that was gradually turning dark. She narrowed her eyes coldly. She really wanted to see what kind of monster had such abilities. Xiao Chen and Qinggu naturally didn't have any objections. However, looking at the 2 corpses, they thought for a while and called someone to clean up the place. After returning to the inn, the owner of the inn saw that Jing Yu, Xiao Chen and the rest had returned. He instantly heaved a sigh of relief. When he heard that Jing Yu, Xiao Chen and the rest were going out at night, he was instantly stunned. "What's wrong? Is it inconvenient to leave the door open for us to come back?" Jing Yu looked at the owner's pale face and asked curiously. "Dear customers, this lowly one can tell that you're not ordinary people, but that monster is too powerful. It's best if you don't get involved and leave as soon as possible," the shopkeeper said earnestly. "How do you know that this monster is very powerful? Could it be that you've seen it before?" Jing Yu's dark eyes looked at the owner quietly. Seeing that the owner's expression changed after hearing Jing Yu's words, Jing Yu's eyes lit up. It seemed like there was a chance. Miss, I'll say the same thing again. You should leave as soon as possible. The owner didn't say much and turned to leave. Jingyu looked at the owner and touched her chin curiously. She had a thoughtful look on her face. There must be a big problem. Otherwise, why would he be like this? But what exactly happened? Needless to say, Jingyu's curiosity was piqued. As the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat. But she was a human. Jingyu narrowed her eyes and didn't say anything. But what kind of place was this? Jingyu had to go there. She also had to investigate this matter. Jingyu really wanted to see what kind of monster it was that had such abilities. Jingyu and Xiaochen opened their eyes at the same time. In this dark room, Jingyu smiled faintly at Xiaochen. Her dark eyes were filled with excitement. This long-awaited feeling really made Jingyu's blood boil. Jingyu and Xiaochen changed their clothes and prepared their equipment before stepping out of the inn. Qinggu, who was next door, was also dragged out by Interrogation Officer 3 and Interrogation Officer 15. Qinggu had a tired look on his face, but he still accepted his fate and followed Xiaochen and Jingyu out of the inn. Chapter 1990. There was not a single person on the street. The street lamps swayed in the wind, and it was horrifying. The moment Qinggu walked out, half of his tiredness disappeared. He quietly walked between Interrogation Officer 3 and Interrogation Officer 15, seeking a sense of security. Interrogation Officer 3 and Interrogation Officer 15 looked at Qinggu and their mouths twitched. Jingyu admired the night view. It really was a moonless and windy night to kill someone. For some reason, Jingyu suddenly felt like practicing. The atmosphere was really good. Just as Jingyu and Xiaochen were walking, they suddenly saw a shadow flash by. Jingyu and Xiaochen instantly stopped in their tracks and raised their hands to make a gesture. Instantly, Xiaochen, Jingyu, Interrogation Officer 3 and Interrogation Officer 15 split up and disappeared from the rooftop in a few leaps. Then, Qinggu was dumbfounded. On the wide road, only Qinggu was left. Alone. You guys? Qingji's face turned pale, not sure if it was from anger or fear. The surroundings were silent. Only the sound of the wind blowing the leaves could be heard. Qinggu braced himself and walked forward. Looking at the situation in front of him, he swallowed silently. Why did he feel like someone was following behind him? Gulp. Qingji's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed silently. Ninth brother, ninth sister-in-law, you guys are really too much. I'm not ready yet, Jingyu indeed told Qinggu first. But how could Qinggu not know what Jingyu and Xiaochen meant by this? They obviously wanted to use Qinggu as bait. Jingyu and Xiaochen hid on the roof and watched Qinggu trembling as he walked on the street. Jingyu couldn't help but ask, aren't we too cruel? What if Qinggu pees himself? Xiaochen, there was no movement on the street. Jingyu wondered if she was too anxious. So the bait was too obvious. That's why I can't attract them? Just as Jingyu was considering whether or not to go down, she suddenly heard a strange sound. She narrowed her eyes and stared down with a burning gaze. She saw a figure walking out of the darkness step by step. He was alone. But it seemed like it wasn't just one person. Jingyu watched as the man approached Qinggu step by step. Qinggu seemed to have sensed it as well. He stood stiffly on the spot, muttering something under his breath. He clenched his fists tightly and closed his eyes. His face was dripping with cold sweat. As the man approached, Jingyu slowly took out the bow on her back and slowly pulled the bowstring. The cold tip of the arrow was pointed at the man. The man stopped a few meters away from Qinggu, as if he had suddenly stopped. Jingyu wasn't in a hurry. She just waited quietly. Finally, the man leaped up and bared his sharp teeth without hesitation. He was about to pounce on Qinggu. Jingyu's arrow flew out at the same time. Jingyu thought that the arrow would definitely hit its target. However, something terrifying happened. The man seemed to have sensed it. He reached out and grabbed the arrow. His body was suddenly hit and he fell to the ground. The arrow pierced his shoulder. The monster suddenly raised his head and looked in Jingyu's direction. Jingyu stood up abruptly. She saw the monster's sharp teeth and narrowed eyes. It was like a wild beast. It looked at Jingyu and turned to flee. Chapter 1991. Xiao Qin, Third Xing, and the rest leaped out and pounced on the monster without a second thought. "Be careful!" Jing Yu shouted and leaped down as well. She frowned slightly and looked at the person who was knocked down by Xiao Qin. Interrogation Officer 3 and Interrogation Officer 15 went forward and caught the person who was knocked down. The sword was placed on his neck, but he was not afraid at all. He opened his mouth and bit down. He actually bit down on the sword and broke it in an instant. Hiss! Jing Yu looked at this scene and then looked at the person whom 3rd Xing and 15th Xing had to use all their strength to hold down. Her face was filled with shock. What a mouthful of good teeth! Jing Yu looked at the person who was pressed to the ground and could not move. The corner of her mouth twitched violently. This was indeed a person, but his originally flat teeth had been sharpened into a sharp shape. It looked exceptionally frightening. He was just like a wild beast. Is this really a person? Qin Gu was scared out of his wits. When he saw that the person was subdued, he silently lifted his hand to wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. "Ninth brother. Ninth sister. You guys are too disloyal." Qin Gu seemed to have finally thought of something. He looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Qin accusingly and said, "How could you leave me here without telling me?" Xiao Qin pursed his lips and did not say anything. "Wouldn't we be exposed if we told you?" Jing Yu said seriously, "Besides, don't you trust me?" Jing Yu smiled at Qin Gu and squatted on the ground. She looked at the person who was knocked out by 3rd Xing and frowned curiously. She squinted at the person and asked, "Why does it look so scary? What is this thing?" "Madam, this monster is extremely strong." 3rd Xing wiped his sweat silently. If he hadn't reacted fast enough, the monster would have escaped. Not only is he strong, but his reflexes are also impressive. He actually managed to dodge my arrow? Jing Yu rubbed her chin with an amused expression as she narrowed her eyes. "What kind of monster is this?" Qin Gu also came over and looked at the person in front of him. His brows slowly wrinkled as if he wanted to get closer to study this person. However, he smelled an extremely unpleasant smell on this person's body. "So smelly. How long has it been since he last bathed?" Qin Gu frowned. Everyone, while Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were wondering what was going on, Xiao Chen suddenly turned his head and squinted his dark eyes. "Someone's coming." Jing Yu also stood up when she heard that. Her eyes were cold. Why would there be people in the middle of the night? There were indeed a few people running over on the street. Looking at their posture, they probably knew martial arts. They probably didn't expect to meet Jing Yu and Xiao Chen here. They were slightly stunned and then lowered their heads to look at the monster on the ground that was subdued by Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. "Did you guys catch this monster?" The middle-aged man who was the leader suddenly widened his eyes when he saw this scene. He looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's group in horror and asked, "Who are you guys?" Jing Yu frowned slightly as she looked at this group of people. "Heroes, please don't be alarmed. It's my fault." When this person heard Jing Yu's cautious question, he quickly cupped his hands and said, "We are people from this city. Our purpose is to catch this monster." Chapter 1992. You're here to catch this monster? Jing Yu and the rest looked at each other when they heard this. That's right. The leader stepped forward and bowed slightly to Jing Yu. "I'm Yan Chenyang, a hunter in this city. For the past 6 months, strange things have been happening in the city. No one is in charge, so we formed a team to deal with this monster. It's just that in the past 6 months, we've encountered this monster many times, but we haven't been able to catch it. We've even lost a few brothers. I didn't expect that it would be caught by a few heroes today," Yan Chenyang said very seriously. "I don't think you guys are locals, right? Are you just passing by?" Yan Chenyang looked curiously at Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the rest. "That's right, we're indeed outsiders. We heard about this monster, so we came to check it out. Unfortunately, we happened to meet it and caught it." Jing Yu narrowed her eyes and kicked the person who fainted on the ground. She asked curiously, "Do you guys know what kind of monster this is?" "This..." Yan Chenyang heard Jing Yu's words and frowned. In the end, he sighed deeply and said, "This incident started a year ago. If you guys don't mind, Why don't you come to my house for a while? This monster still needs to be looked after properly. If this monster wakes up, I'm afraid there'll be trouble. The man said seriously. All right. Jingyu looked at the monster on the ground and then turned to look at Xiaoqun, Third Xing and the rest. She nodded slowly in agreement. We're staying at Qingyuan Inn. You guys can take this monster away. Jingyu said a few words casually and then left with Xiaoqun. As for whether these people would come looking for them, Jingyu was very sure that they would come looking for them. Brother Yen, we don't know where these people came from. Are we really going to tell them about this monster? Someone beside Yen Chenyang asked worriedly. Let's wait and see. Yen Chenyang frowned deeply. He looked in the direction where Jingyu and the others left and said seriously, these people are not simple. It is very likely that they are here for the Miaojiang. This could be an opportunity for us. Yen Chenyang frowned slightly, as if he had thought of something. He frowned silently but didn't say anything in the end. He waved his hand and asked everyone to tie up the monster. The next morning, the owner of the inn saw Jingyu and Xiaoqun getting up and eating as usual. He was so surprised that his eyes widened. Did you guys really go out last night? The shopkeeper looked at Jingyu and Xiaoqun in surprise. He went out. What's wrong? Jingyu still looked a little sleepy. She yawned and poured herself some water. When she answered the shopkeeper's question, she looked at the shopkeeper's face as if he had seen a ghost. She immediately curled her lips in amusement. You guys didn't see anything? The shopkeeper was even more confused. He looked at Jingyu carefully and asked, see what? Jingyu raised her eyebrows and looked at this person. She asked happily, did you see the monster? We saw it. The shopkeeper heard Jingyu's words and widened his eyes. He asked, did this monster didn't do anything to you guys? What do you want it to do to us? Jingyu rolled her eyes helplessly. Chapter 1993. At this moment, Jingyu didn't intend to reveal the matter of the monster. After all, she still didn't have a clear understanding of the situation. It wouldn't be good if this caused a panic. Jingyu looked at the innkeeper calmly. Qinggu chuckled and said that he was hungry and asked the innkeeper to find something to eat. The innkeeper left with a heart full of worries. Jingyu and Xiaoqun had just eaten their fill when they saw 3 people walk into the deserted inn. Jingyu and Xiaoqun naturally recognized the leader of the 3 people. Wasn't this the person who appeared last night? The innkeeper was also surprised when he saw the appearance of these people. However, it was obvious that they were acquaintances. After exchanging a few words, the innkeeper pointed in the direction of Jingyu and Xiaoqun. That person nodded slightly and walked towards Jingyu. Yen Mao pays his respects to the heroes. Yen Chenyang was very courteous. The 2 people behind Yen Chenyang looked at each other and also cupped their hands towards Jingyu and Xiaoqun. No need to be so courteous. Please have a seat, Jingyu said as she raised her hand slightly. When these people sat down, she then lifted her hand and poured water for Yen Chenyang unhurriedly. She said casually, young Master Yen isn't an ordinary hunter, right? When I looked at young Master Yen just now, he looked like someone from the pugilistic world. Jingyu said calmly. The half of her face that was covered by the mask blocked the expression on Jingyu's face. Jingyu's black eyes looked at the person in front of her quietly. From last night until now, Yen Chenyang had been behaving very politely. No matter how Jingyu looked at it, she felt that this person was definitely not an ordinary hunter, so she opened her mouth to ask. Miss, you have good eyesight. My father used to be a man of the pugilistic world. When I was young, I followed my father out and about. Naturally, I've been influenced by the habits of the pugilistic world. Yen Chenyang smiled amiably. He looked at Jingyu calmly and said, you guys don't look like ordinary people in the Jianghu. When Yen Chenyang said this, his eyes fell on Xiaoqun. Although it was Jingyu who was talking, in Yen Chenyang's opinion, Xiaoqun was like the master. He just stood there silently, but he couldn't be ignored. Ah! Jingyu slightly arched her eyebrows, seemingly unwilling to say more. She calmly looked at Yen Chenyang and said, we are just passers-by. Jingyu pursed her lips slightly as she looked at Yen Chenyang and casually asked, I was supposed to leave for the Miaojiang, but I unexpectedly discovered this monster in the city. Does young Master Yen have anything to say? Forgive me for being presumptuous, but where are you going to the Miaojiang? Yen Chenyang slightly frowned as he looked at Jingyu and said, the Miaojiang is so dangerous. The people of the Miaojiang are extremely xenophobic. Where are you going? To find someone. Jingyu didn't hide it. She slightly raised her eyebrows and said, it's very important. I can't say much to young Master Yen. Please forgive me. Oh. Yen Chenyang slowly nodded and said, speaking of this monster, I need to start from the people of the Miaojiang a year ago. When Jingyu heard Yen Chenyang's words, she suddenly raised her eyebrows slightly. Her eyes were stained with a touch of coldness. She looked at Yen Chenyang and continued, more than a year ago, the people of the Miaojiang somehow bribed the guards in the city and brought out a large number of Miaojiang people. Chapter 1994. Miaojiang's people were allowed to enter the mainland. It seems that because of these people, the 9th imperial concubine of Tokyo died. This matter caused the emperor to be furious. He ordered a thorough investigation, which led to here. The people in the army seemed to want to make up for it, but there was no progress. The leader of the army seemed to want to go to Miaojiang and completely block the road, but he didn't expect to be suddenly attacked. When the corpses were transported back, it was time for the incident to start. Yen Chenyang frowned tightly and said, the corpses that were transported back by the army disappeared overnight. After the disappearance of the corpses, the soldiers searched everywhere. How could someone steal the corpses? But before the corpses were found, another person disappeared. Yen Chenyang frowned deeply and said, it was from then on. I just came back from outside and encountered this incident, so I sent people to secretly investigate. It wasn't until half a year ago that I finally found out the cause and effect of this matter. It turned out that there were Miaojiang's people hidden in this city. This person was actually using people to create goo, which is the monster you saw last night. Human goo. When Jingyu heard this, she suddenly frowned and asked curiously, what does human goo mean? Simply put, it is to treat people as goo. Yen Chenyang frowned slightly and said, if you want to raise a goo, you have to put all kinds of poisonous creatures together, such as spiders, centipedes, scorpions, and so on. You put them together and let them kill each other and finally eat each other. After being bitten, nibbled, and fed, this venomous goo worm is born. This kind of goo worm is incomparably ferocious, and it is extremely difficult to raise one, Yen Chenyang said slowly. Listening to what you said, could it be that this human goo is to put several people together and then kill each other to become the strongest one? Jingyu's heart trembled slightly as she looked at Yen Chenyang and asked. That's right. Yen Chenyang looked deeply at Jingyu and replied, however, the people who were put together were all close relatives. Dozens of them were locked up in the cave. In the end, human goo was cultivated and fed, using goo to raise human goo. When Jingyu heard this, she thought of that scene. She didn't know why, but she suddenly felt nauseous. She furrowed her brows and sighed deeply. The people of Miaojiang are so disgusting. Qingji's face turned pale as he listened. I don't know how long this Miaojiang person has been hiding, nor do I know how many human goo he has raised. But after the search half a year ago, that Miaojiang person was killed, and these human goo became ownerless and scattered. I don't know where they are hiding now. They only appear at night to hunt humans. Yen Chenyang sighed deeply and said, the one you saw yesterday is the human goo. For the past 6 months, everyone has been living in fear. The soldiers and army ignored this. These human goo are extremely difficult to deal with. Many of our brothers have died. If this continues, I'm afraid that something big will happen. Yen Chenyang looked up at Jingyu and Xiao Chen and said, last night, this human goo was caught by all of you. I am here to thank you. But I suspect that there is more than one human goo. I wonder if you can help? Yen Chenyang looked at Jingyu cautiously and asked. Chapter 1995. How do you know that we will definitely be able to help you? Jingyu suddenly smiled and asked Yen Chenyang curiously. If you guys want to help, then this matter will be twice the result with half the effort. Yan Chenyang silently pursed his lips and said, "To be honest, I have infiltrated Miaojiang for many years and am very familiar with Miaojiang. If you guys are willing to help, I am willing to lead you guys into Miaojiang after the matter is done." Jing Yu heard this and was instantly interested. She looked at Yan Chenyang in surprise and asked, "You have been to Miaojiang?" Yan Chenyang slightly nodded and replied, "My mother is from Miaojiang. When I was young, I often went to Miaojiang." Jing Yu was slightly surprised and then faintly curved her eyebrows and said, "Just right, we do need someone to lead the way. Since you said so, then we will see. But I wonder, what do you want to do?" Phew. "Thank you guys." Yan Chenyang heard Jing Yu's reply and slowly let out a sigh of relief. "We want to let the monster go and see where it will run to. It will definitely be the monster's nest." Yan Chenyang looked at Jing Yu and frowned deeply and said, "But this monster moves very quickly. I think we will need your help to catch up." "This is simple." Jing Yu very casually nodded and called out, 15, your Qinggong is not bad, right?" "Yes, your subordinate understands." 15 Xing immediately replied. Yan Chenyang saw that Jing Yu was so relaxed and immediately became happier. After confirming the time and saying some things to pay attention to, Yan Chenyang left. After the innkeeper saw that this person left, he looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen with eyes full of doubt but did not ask anything. After Yan Chenyang and the group left the inn, the two people following Yan Chenyang anxiously asked, "Brother Yan, can these people really help us?" "I don't know." Yan Chenyang also deeply sighed. He really did not know if Jing Yu and the rest could help. But since they had the guts to bring these people to Miaojiang, their martial arts should not be weak. There was also the monster from last night. The reason why Jing Yu and the others were able to capture the monster so easily was because the monster had been injured and had not eaten for a long time. If the monster was at its peak, they might not have been able to capture it. "Then Brother Yan, you still..." When the people beside him heard Yan Chenyang's reply, they were stunned and asked in confusion, "This is our chance." Yan Chenyang frowned and said, "How would we know if we don't try?" After Yan Chenyang said this, he took a deep breath and turned to leave. The two people behind him looked at each other and were silent for a while before following him. Jing Yu leaned comfortably on the chair with a calm expression. Qing Ge looked at Jing Yu and suddenly frowned. He asked in a conflicted tone, "Ninth sister, are you really going to interfere? Haven't I already interfered? What else is there to be real or fake?" Jing Yu calmly curved her lips slightly. The calmness in her eyes made Qing Ge speechless. Human venomous goo, such a cold-blooded method has been exposed. It's not a bad thing for us to take this opportunity to understand it. Jing Yu raised her eyebrows slightly and turned to look at Xiao Chen and asked, "What do you think?" Chapter 1996. Xiao Chen. He had already agreed. Wasn't it too late to ask him now? "I know you must be thinking the same thing as me." Jing Yu answered her own question happily. Xiao Chen replied expressionlessly. Qing, third Xing and the rest turned their heads away silently. They already knew this would happen. Jing Yu and the rest had a good rest in the morning and went out for a stroll. It had to be said that this place was really too sparsely populated. Jing Yu was speechless. Especially when these people saw Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's group, they looked especially frightened. This made Jing Yu even more speechless. They really didn't have the mood to continue strolling around and went back to their houses early in the morning. When the sky turned dark, Yan Chenyang sent someone to invite Jing Yu and the rest over. Jing Yu had brought all the equipment she had on her. Now that she didn't have the ability of the other pupil, she really had to be careful. Jing Yu slung her longbow on her back and followed that person to a house in the city. She watched as the monster broke open the metal door and left. Yan Chenyang looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen waved his hand slightly and 15th Xing instantly flew away like a ghost. Jing Yu wasn't in a hurry and just waited there. When Yan Chenyang's group saw Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's group appear, they instantly felt strange. Pairs of eyes stared at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's group. Some people were whispering to each other. She didn't need to listen to them to know what they were talking about. They were doubting Jing Yu's ability. Jing Yu was very calm as she had seen this kind of scene many times. It was Yen Chenyang who was a little embarrassed. He opened his mouth and shouted for everyone to shut up. Jing Yu raised her eyebrows slightly, but did not say anything. He's still not back after so long. Could something have happened to him? Everyone waited for a long time, but no one came back. Suddenly, they were a little worried. After all, it was an outsider who was involved. If he died because of this, would it implicate them? Wait a little longer. Yen Chenyang said with a frown. Brother Yen, are these people outsiders? One of them looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen and asked, are they really okay? If you don't trust us, why did you ask us to come? Qinggu couldn't bear it any longer. He turned his head and looked at that person. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. He smiled with a hint of ridicule and said, in any case, we aren't from the city. At worst, we can just leave. Why would we care about your life and death? Besides, what do you have here that's worthy of our attention? Qinggu turned his head in disdain. His words instantly caused everyone to glare at him angrily. Jing Yu looked at Qinggu in surprise. Since when did Qinggu have such a glib tongue? Just as everyone was in a commotion, 15th interrogation officer, who had left, returned. Master, madam. 15th interrogation officer bowed slightly to Xiao Chen and Jing Yu and said, I saw the monster hide in the cave and didn't go in. However, looking at the footprints outside, there must be a lot of them in the cave. Did you mark it? Jing Yu nodded slowly and turned her head to ask. Yes, 15th interrogation officer bowed and replied. Young Master Yen, this monster is so active at night. It's definitely not appropriate for us to go at night. Why don't we get everyone to prepare their weapons tomorrow morning and go check it out? Chapter 1997. That's exactly what I was thinking. Yen Chenyang nodded slowly. Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others then left. After Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others left, there was an uproar in the crowd. Everyone was very dissatisfied with the attitude of Jing Yu and the others. These people had always been regarded as saviors by the people in the city. Now that they suddenly encountered people like Jing Yu and Xiao Chen, of course, they were unhappy. They felt as if their status had been snatched away. Who are these people? That's right. Who are these people? What if these people spread the news about the monster and cause panic in the city? Then wouldn't our efforts all this time be in vain? Everyone spoke one after another. The words that came out of their mouths made Yen Chenyang's face turn ashen. He suddenly shouted coldly, Enough! Do you think that it's a good thing for us to hide it from the people in the city? Yen Chenyang's pair of cold eyes looked at these people. He furrowed his brows and said, You've seen that person's ability just now. Since he could follow the monster without being discovered, and we couldn't find it even after months of searching, how many of our brothers died there even though we knew it was in that area? Yen Chenyang looked deeply at these people and asked, Or are you saying that you don't want the monster to disappear at all? So many people in the city are waiting for us to catch the monster. If you are still addicted to being admired by everyone, I will disband the team right now. I'll show you how the monster eats your family. Yen Chenyang fiercely flung his sleeves. When these words came out, everyone's expressions suddenly became very interesting. Every one of them was embarrassed by Yen Chenyang's words. They were indeed used to their lives. At the beginning, they had joined the team with a heart full of passion. However, during this period of time, because they fought against the monster, they were respected by the people in the city. They especially enjoyed the process, so much so that they had forgotten what their original intentions were. Today, Yen Chenyang's words were like a wake-up call to everyone, waking them up. These words were like a resounding slap to everyone's face, making them feel extremely ashamed. The passers-by are willing to draw their swords to help, regardless of life and death. But you are thinking of these things. The few people who had followed Yen Chenyang in the beginning sighed in disappointment when they saw this group of dozens of people. In the end, they followed Yen Chenyang and left. Jing Yu didn't know what had happened. After they returned to the inn, they went back to their rooms to rest. Jing Yu took off her clothes and sat calmly by the window. Her brows were slightly furrowed. When Xiao Chen entered the room, he saw Jing Yu like this. What are you thinking about? Xiaochen sat down beside Jingyu and asked with raised eyebrows. Have Little Potato and Little Watermelon returned to the Imperial City? Jingyu turned her head and looked at Xiaochen. They should have arrived by now. Xiaochen knew that Jingyu missed her children. He reached out and gently hugged Jingyu in his arms. Jingyu felt Xiaochen's comfort and a faint smile appeared in her eyes. She leaned against Xiaochen. I received a message. Feng Ling is coming towards us, Xiaochen said after a moment of silence. Jingyu raised her eyebrows slightly. Chapter 1998. Feng Ling came to look for us? Jingyu said doubtfully. Did you pass the news to her? Xiaochen said calmly. If I'm not wrong, it should be the Constellation Palace who sent the news. However, I'm a little surprised that Feng Ling is coming. Ha! Jingyu suddenly laughed softly. She turned to Jingyu and said, Didn't you say it yourself? If Feng Ling wanted to come, she would naturally come. Now that she's here, you're surprised. Xiaochen suddenly fell silent. He frowned slightly and said, That's two different things. Why are they two different things? Jingyu blinked and asked Xiaochen. Xiaochen looked at Jingyu and frowned. Without thinking, he leaned over and kissed Jingyu's lips. Jingyu's eyes widened. What kind of person was this? They were talking nicely and he actually kissed her. Xiaochen was originally kissing her for fun. The reason was that he was too lazy to talk. However, after kissing for a while, he became addicted. He hugged Jingyu and immediately became naughty. Jingyu struggled slightly. We're talking about serious matters, Jingyu said as she pushed Xiaochen. I'm also doing serious matters. Xiaochen flipped over and pressed Jingyu down. His pair of dark eyes looked at Jingyu brightly. In the end, they didn't say anything and satisfied Xiaochen, this hungry wolf, until he was full. In the morning, Jingyu lay peacefully on the bed. Xiaochen hugged Jingyu and kissed her left and right. Jingyu couldn't be bothered with him anymore. Feng Ling still needs some time to arrive. Let's not wait any longer. Xiaochen squinted his eyes as he played with Feng Ling's hair. Why? Jingyu turned to look at Xiaochen in confusion and said, Doesn't Feng Ling know Miaojiang very well? Why don't we wait for Feng Ling? It's been too long. Xiaochen said calmly, Let's meet again in Miaojiang. All right. Jingyu raised her eyebrows slightly and did not ask further. She lay on the bed for a while. In order to prevent this hungry wolf from pouncing on her again, Jingyu decisively got up. After tidying herself up, she went downstairs to eat. They leisurely arrived at the place where they had agreed to meet last night. They noticed that everyone was already there and seemed to have been waiting for a while. When they saw that Jingyu and Xiaochen had taken so long to arrive, they seemed to have some complaints, but they didn't say anything. Jingyu was surprised. Did these people really have a change of heart? Let's go. Seeing that everyone was ready, Yan Chenyang waved his hand and set off. 15th Xing and Jingyu walked in front. Yan Chenyang followed closely behind. He watched as Jingyu followed the mark and walked into the depths of the forest. Be careful. Jingyu squinted at the poisonous snake that was killed by 3rd Xing. She frowned and said, This place seems to have attracted a lot of poisonous creatures. Yes, there are footprints. Xiaochen slowly unsheathed his sword, and Jingyu unsheathed the longbow on her back. She looked very serious, and the people behind her also became nervous. Everyone frowned and looked around vigilantly. Master, it's the cave in front. 15th Xing looked at the cave 100 meters away and stopped in his tracks. Master, these are all poisonous creatures. Xiaochen and Jingyu heard 15th Xing's voice and frowned. Indeed, they saw poisonous creatures everywhere at the entrance of the east cave. Jingyu felt her scalp go numb. Qinggu took out the medicinal powder from the cloth bag on his body. Chapter 1999. This is the repellent snake's powder, Qinggu said as he got 3rd Xing and 15th Xing to scatter it. Sure enough, they saw that the poisonous creatures on the road had all retreated, as if they were extremely disgusted by the powder. Jingyu also raised her hand and killed some of them before walking to the entrance of the cave. This monster has to hide inside and not come out. Jingyu rolled her eyes and said happily, let's use the old method to force it out by lighting a fire. Parasites are all afraid of fire. This method will work. Yan Chenyang nodded in agreement and immediately called for someone to light the torches. The scorching flames burned towards the entrance of the cave. These monsters weren't humans. There definitely wasn't any other way out. Jingyu wasn't in a hurry. After burning for 4 hours, there was indeed some movement from the cave. Instantly, everyone present became alert and stared at the entrance of the cave. Jingyu slowly tightened the longbow in her hand. Her dark eyes stared at the entrance of the cave that was emitting thick smoke. The surroundings were silent. Everyone held their breaths and didn't dare to move. Finally, they heard a roar. A figure suddenly jumped out of the cave. The moment the figure appeared, the arrow in Jingyu's hand suddenly shot out. The arrow hit the monster's shoulder. Jingyu frowned. This monster really had extraordinary agility. It was actually able to dodge her arrow. Jingyu wanted to shoot its throat, but the monster dodged it. The monster didn't care. After one rushed out, a few more rushed out in succession. Each of them was extremely ferocious as they pounced towards Jingyu and the others. Xiao Chen and Third Xing went up to meet them. Jingyu didn't stay idle either. The arrows in her hand were accurate. However, these things seemed to be unaware of pain and continued to attack crazily. After 5 or 6 of them jumped out of the cave, they stopped. Yan Chenyang and the others didn't look like they were to be trifled with either. Each team surrounded one monster while Jingyu wandered around the entire situation. When she saw which side needed help, she would shoot arrows anytime. Chop off their heads. When Jingyu saw that these things were so durable, her eyes were filled with coldness as she shouted. When the crowd heard Jingyu's words, they immediately attacked the monster's head without any hesitation. Xiao Chen quickly killed one, Xing San and Xing Shiwu dealt with another, and the rest were in the group. It seemed to be very strenuous. Jingyu gripped the bow tightly, and an ice-cold sharp blade appeared. Jingyu rushed into the crowd, and the way she swung the bow was as if she had taken down a monster by herself. Those people widened their eyes in shock as they watched Jingyu suppress the monsters. The sharp bow and arrow in his hand directly pierced the monster's head, as if he was cutting a watermelon. Hiss! Everyone looked at this scene and suddenly trembled violently. Don't be distracted. Be careful of the venomous worms in the flesh of these things. Jingyu turned her head and said. Another arrow was shot out, and the monster that almost hit one of them was hit by Jingyu's arrow. It retreated a few steps and let out a roar. Disgusting things. Jingyu's eyes were filled with disgust. Without thinking, she flew up and the bow string wrapped around the neck of a monster. The thin wild silk was caught by the monster's hand. Chapter 2000. When everyone saw this scene, they were stunned. Just as they were about to go up and help, however, he saw Jingyu's lips curl up in disdain. She said in an extremely cold voice, "Die." Then, under everyone's strange gazes, Jingyu pulled with all her might. Everyone saw with their own eyes that the thin heavenly silk thread cut off that person's finger. Then, it slid down from the finger to the neck and cut off the entire head of the monster. Jingyu looked coldly at the monster falling down with a head in her hand. Under everyone's gaze, Jingyu threw the head aside in disdain. Smelly, Jingyu looked at her bow that was dirted and was instantly displeased. She turned her head and saw that the monsters had been dealt with. She nodded her head in satisfaction. When she turned her head to look at Yan Chenyang and the others, she suddenly realized that the way they looked at her was a little different. Jingyu raised her eyebrows. What's wrong? Is there something on my face? Jingyu looked at everyone in confusion. She thought that the blood had splashed on her face, so she asked curiously. Nothing. Everyone shook their heads silently. Let's go in and see what's the situation in this cave. Jingyu raised her eyebrows calmly and walked in without any change in her expression. Xiao Chen, Third Xing and the rest also went in. This cave was like a storage cave. But what was stored here were all corpses. There were human corpses and animal corpses. There was a strong smell of rotting corpses. Jing Yu endured the nausea in her stomach and looked around. When she didn't find anything valuable, she quickly rushed out. Let's burn all of these. The best way was to burn all of these things. She also looked around to see if there were any fish that had escaped the net. After confirming that there were no fish, she slowly heaved a sigh of relief. This is crazy. Jing Yu frowned fiercely. She knew very well how many people had died to create these 5 or 6 monsters. Moreover, Jing Yu saw that these people's teeth had been sharpened by someone. Why did this person create such a monster? Was the person who created this monster really dead? Jing Yu watched the fire burn with her own eyes. Someone went into the city to inform the people that the monster had been killed. The people in the city were all cheering. Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others went into the inn to take a bath. Then he asked Qinggu to check his pulse to make sure that he wasn't injured or poisoned. Only then did he feel relieved. The people in the city cried tears of joy when they saw the charred corpse of the monster reef with their own eyes. Finally, they would not have to live in fear every day. Jing Yu sat by the window and looked at the scene outside. Her lips curled into a faint smile. Jing Yu didn't let Yan Chenyang expose himself, so Yan Chenyang didn't say a word. After everything was settled, Yan Chenyang came to visit. Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others were eating. Jing Yu didn't order so many dishes at all, but she saw a table full of dishes being served continuously. The shopkeepers solemnly stood in front of Jing Yu and the others and said, "Thank you, heroes, for avenging my daughter." Jing Yu hurriedly helped up the shopkeeper who was about to kneel down. Her eyes were filled with surprise. How did this person know that they were the ones who did it? Chapter 2001. How are you so sure that it's us? When Jing Yu and the others saw this person's appearance, they were immediately shocked and asked curiously. That's right. We didn't say anything. When we left, we didn't alert the inn either. How did you know? Qing Ji's face was also filled with confusion. He looked at the shopkeeper strangely and asked, "You must be joking," the old man said with a slight smile. The old man calmly arched his eyebrows and said, "When you all moved into the store, I was already aware of it. In addition, Yan Chenyang and the others came over yesterday to talk with you. Although I don't know what you talked about, it's not hard to guess what you talked about at such a time," the shopkeeper said seriously. "Shopkeeper, you have a good eye." Jing Yu smiled calmly. "I know that you don't want to make it public. Don't worry, I won't say anything. This table of dishes is just a token of my appreciation. Please accept it." The shopkeeper was interesting. With just a few words, he made Jing Yu look at him in a different light. Seeing that the shopkeeper had really left, Jing Yu looked at the dishes with satisfaction and said, "It's rare to be able to eat such a big meal. Moreover, it's free. Don't just stand there. Hurry up and eat." As Jing Yu spoke, she ignored the others and ate happily. When they were full, Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others leaned back in their chairs and discussed the matter of the human venomous insects. "What do you think about this matter?" Jing Yu turned to look at Xiao Chen, Qinggu, and the others and asked. "I don't know why, but I keep feeling that these human venomous insects were deliberately abandoned here," Qinggu said with a frown. "Is the person who created the human venomous insects really dead? Why do I feel so uneasy?" Qinggu sighed deeply and looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. He asked, "What do you think?" "My thoughts are the same." Jing Yu pursed her lips and said calmly, "It seems like we found the human venomous insects step by step. However, in my opinion, it seems like someone has already arranged everything and is just waiting for us to intervene. Since we are going to be enemies with the people of Miaojiang, we will encounter them sooner or later." Xiao Chen was exceptionally calm. He raised his eyebrows slightly and looked into the distance. "Maybe Miaojiang knows that we are here." Xiao Chen's words made everyone fall into a short silence. "Forget it." Jing Yu stood up and said, "Let's take one step at a time. Go back and rest. We will set off tomorrow." "Yes." Interrogation Squad 3 and Interrogation Squad 15 bowed in response. Qinggu also nodded calmly. When Xiao Chen and Jing Yu were about to leave, they saw Yan Chenyang striding in. Jingyu looked at Yan Chenyang in shock. She probably didn't expect that Jingyu and Xiao Chen would appear here. Heroes, sorry for the wait. Yan Chenyang bowed slightly to Jingyu and said solemnly, I am here to fulfill my promise. Jingyu raised her eyebrows and looked over. Back then, I had an agreement with all of you. If the matter of the monsters in the city was resolved, I would bring all of you to Miaojiang. Now, I have come to fulfill my promise. Yan Chenyang looked at Jingyu silently and said firmly. Jingyu was stunned. Chapter 2002. Since you're ready, let's set off together tomorrow. Jingyu said calmly and turned to leave. Yan Chenyang was slightly stunned. Why did he have a feeling that Jingyu didn't care about the agreement between them at all? It made him attach so much importance to it. So she didn't take it seriously at all? To be honest, Jingyu really didn't take it seriously. However, when Yan Chenyang took the initiative to come to her, Jingyu felt that she had done the right thing by helping him. The city regained its liveliness. At night, no one slept with anxiety. After Jingyu and Xiao Chen packed up, they stepped on the road to Miaojiang. After leaving the city and walking for a while, they could see the boundary stone. After leaving this place, they entered a barren land. Here, there were no laws and no one was in charge. Jingyu looked around calmly. Her eyes were cold. She was dressed in black clothes and wore a silver mask, which made her look even more murderous. The sun was still blazing. Jingyu looked at the barren land and frowned. Let's take a break. Yan Chenyang said to everyone. Only then did everyone find a shady place to rest. Looking at the situation outside, everyone gasped for breath. If we continue walking forward, we will pass by a swamp. Yan Chenyang took the opportunity to say, I haven't set foot here for a long time. I really don't know much about the swamp. Aren't there two paths in front? Jingyu heard Yan Chenyang's words. She raised her eyebrows and turned to ask. Compared to the land, I think it's better for us to walk through the swamp. Yan Chenyang's expression suddenly became a little strange. He pursed his lips and said, This is an ungoverned area. Most of the people gathered there are bandits and robbers. They are incomparably barbaric and unreasonable. Killing people has become a habit. For a period of time, they were active in the periphery. It seems like they wanted to occupy the town, but they were suppressed. So, they have been in the depths. We better pray that we don't meet them. Otherwise, it will be very troublesome. Yan Chenyang frowned and said, This is probably the reason why it's not easy to enter the Miaojiang. Bandits? Jingyu frowned calmly. Since they were going to Miaojiang, Jingyu certainly didn't want to waste time on these bandits. Now that everyone had rested enough, she waved for everyone to set off. The swamp was really frightening. Jingyu, Xiao Chen, and the others arrived at the swamp. When they saw the huge swamp, Jingyu's face turned green. This is the small swamp you were talking about? The corners of Jingyu's mouth twitched violently as she looked at the endless swamp that was filled with white fog. She turned to look at Yan Chenyang and cursed in her heart. Young Master Yan, this small swamp of yours is really small. Qinggu opened his mouth and looked at the swamp. Finally, he turned to look at Yan Chenyang and said, I haven't been here for a long time. I didn't expect that the small swamp of the past would become like this. Yan Chenyang's mouth twitched silently. His face was also full of surprise. At the beginning, this swamp was only a small piece. Now it had become. Chapter 2003. Ninth sister-in-law, what should we do now? Qinggu asked as he turned to look at Jingyu with a sad face. You're asking me? Who should I ask? Jingyu looked at Qinggu from the corner of her eyes. No matter how good one's Qinggong was, they wouldn't be able to pass through here. Moreover, Jingyu didn't have Qinggong. If they went down, wouldn't they sink in minutes? Looking around, it was a barren land without even a tree. Even someone with good Qinggong would need a foothold, right? Would they have to keep flying in the sky? How could their internal energy withstand such consumption? Let's go. Xiao Chen was calm. He gave up on their horses and looked at the swamp in the white fog. I'll explore the way. Although it's a swamp, there are still footholds. We'll pass through it faster. That's fine. Jing Yu turned to look at Xiao Chen. If they were outside and entered the center of the swamp, they wouldn't be able to advance or retreat. They would be done for. Don't worry. Xiao Chen nodded calmly and took the lead to step into the swamp. After everyone heard Xiao Chen's words, they all followed. Xiao Chen walked very carefully, but every step was very stable. Everyone followed behind Xiao Chen. Seeing this, Jing Yu felt a lot more at ease. In this swamp, some places looked like they were going to sink, but in fact they couldn't. The group didn't stop for a rest and kept walking forward. At first, it was fine. However, after walking for a while, their physical strength couldn't take it anymore. Qinggu was the first to collapse. He couldn't pull his feet out. Hold on. Jing Yu gritted her teeth and looked at the road in front. Suddenly, she seemed to see something. Upon closer inspection, it looked like a rock. She immediately waved her hand and called everyone over. There seemed to be a few rocks over there. It's true. There are stones here. Everyone looked in the direction that Jing Yu was pointing at, and their eyes were filled with surprise. It was as if they had suddenly found motivation. They exclaimed in surprise, "This place has rocks. We will definitely be able to stand firm. Let's hurry over and take a rest." Third Xing and the rest exclaimed happily. Jing Yu nodded slightly and walked towards the rock. Who would have thought that there would be a rock in this swamp? As Jing Yu and the others got closer, Jing Yu glanced into the distance. As expected, she saw the rock in the distance. Just as Jing Yu was about to retract her gaze, she suddenly saw that the rock sank a little. Without anyone stepping on it, the stone actually sank down. Upon seeing this, Jing Yu's heart skipped a beat and her body trembled violently. "Wait, don't go over there." Jing Yu suddenly raised her voice and shouted. The panic in her voice made everyone stop what they were doing. They looked at Jing Yu in confusion. They didn't know why Jing Yu suddenly shouted. "What's wrong?" Qing, Third Xing and the rest looked at Jing Yu. "Don't go over there. Something's wrong." Jing Yu's dark eyes scanned the surroundings. Her serious expression made Jing Yu's heart tighten. Everyone's eyes were also filled with seriousness. Seeing that Jing Yu had taken out her bow, everyone also pulled out their weapons. Chapter 2004. We are surrounded, Jing Yu said slowly as she looked at the situation in front of her. Hiss. Everyone wanted to ask where they were surrounded, but when they saw the situation in front of them, they suddenly trembled violently. What they saw was rocks emerging from the quagmire one after another. Swamp crocodile. Jing Yu gripped the bow in her hand tightly, and the cold, sharp blade shot out. Yan Chenyang had seen it once, but this time, he was still extremely surprised by Jing Yu's weapon. While they were talking, the crocodiles in the quagmire finally revealed themselves. They had rock-like armor that disguised themselves as rocks to lure their prey. Jing Yu should have recognized them long ago. Jing Yu had seen many of these crocodiles before. There were even some that disguised themselves as dead trees by the riverbanks. She didn't expect that she would still be tricked by them today. What do we do now? Qinggu panicked as he saw the crocodile emerge. Its huge body made everyone gasp. Yan Chenyang's eyes were also full of shock, probably because he had never seen such a thing before. Xing San, Shiwu, bring Qinggu and young Master Yan away. Remember, find the back of the crocodile and step on it. Jing Yu thought for a moment, then turned to look at everyone and said, Xiao Chen, follow me. I will cover you. Everyone nodded. When Xiao Chen heard that Jing Yu wanted to cover them, he frowned unhappily. However, when he saw Jing Yu waving the bow in her hand, Xiao Chen reluctantly nodded. It looks like these crocodiles are almost starving. Jing Yu frowned. She suddenly missed her other pupils. If she still had them, these crocodiles would be nothing. However, Jing Yu didn't have any special pupils. These crocodiles were beasts. Jing Yu furrowed her brows tightly. After a soft shout, 3rd Interrogation Officer took Qinggu and 15th Interrogation Officer took Yan Chenyang and stood up abruptly. The moment these people moved, the crocodile suddenly opened its mouth and Jing Yu released the arrow in her hand without hesitation. It steadily pierced through the head of the crocodile, making the crocodile a stepping stone for Third Xing and the others. Xiaochen didn't hesitate either. He jumped to the front and opened a path for the crocodiles. Jing Yu followed behind. The crocodiles behind her smelled the scent of blood and rushed forward one by one. It really frightened Jing Yu. The sharp blade on the bow swung fiercely. No matter how hard Jing Yu tried, she didn't land on the ground. She stepped on the back of the crocodile and leaped forward quickly. From time to time, she would shoot an arrow to help Xiaochen open up a path. That was true. Moving forward in such a way was simply like riding a train. It was much faster than dilly-dallying. If anyone saw this scene, they would be so shocked that their jaws would drop. This was because Jing Yu and the others were dancing on the tip of a knife. If they weren't careful, they would step into the crocodile's mouth. However, Jing Yu and Xiaochen cooperated with each other very well. Qinggu scattered the powder in his hand as if it was free. Jing Yu and the others held their breaths and walked for a while. Then Qinggu stopped, allowing Jing Yu and the others to catch their breaths. Once again, they held their breaths and continued running. Jing Yu's blood was boiling from killing at the back. Her eyes seemed to be dyed red as she swung the sharp blade in her hand fiercely. Chapter 2005. The smell of blood filled the air, and the crocodiles seemed to feel fear. One by one, they retreated, not daring to move forward. On the muddy ground, everyone was panting. Jing Yu looked at the crocodiles expressionlessly, her dark eyes filled with murderous intent. The crocodiles looked at Jing Yu's group as if they had seen something terrifying, and all of them retreated silently. This was the first time Yan Chenyang had seen such a scene. He had never thought that a human could cause animals to be so afraid. Xiaochen called out, and the murderous intent in Jing Yu's eyes dissipated bit by bit. She turned to look at Jing Yu, and found that everyone was looking at her strangely. Jing Yu clenched her fists and kept the sharp blade on her bow. They could not stay in this place for long, so Jing Yu and Xiaochen did not intend to stay for long. Just as they were about to turn and leave, they suddenly heard someone humming a little song. Jing Yu and the rest were stunned, and turned their heads in surprise. They saw a little old man walking with small steps on the other side. Ah. The little old man was holding a jug of wine, and seemed to be in a good mood. But when he saw the crocodile corpses lying in the swamp, he screamed as if he had seen a ghost. "Who is it? Who is it? Who killed so many of my treasures?" The little old man roared like a madman. Ah. After a round of screaming, Jing Yu and the rest saw the old man floating above the swamp like a feather, and not sinking at all. This scene made Jing Yu and the rest widen their eyes. Before they could recover from their shock, they saw the little old man looking at the dead crocodiles with a pained expression. The other living crocodiles were actually very intimate with this little old man. Intimate? Can't be. Could it be that these crocodiles were all raised by this old man? The faces of Jing Yu and the rest became very strange. Damn bastard. Who is it? The old man seemed to be completely enraged, and he suddenly turned to look at Jing Yu and the rest. Finally, as if he had discovered Jing Yu and the rest, he moved in front of Jing Yu and Xiaochen in an instant. Jing Yu and the rest felt their hearts tighten, and they looked at the old man warily. Where did this little girl come from? The old man looked at Jing Yu and the rest with a very critical gaze. Finally, with a cold face, he pointed at the crocodile corpses in the swamp and asked, "You guys, did you see who killed my treasures?" As soon as the old man finished his question, Third Xing and the others felt their hearts tighten. Their hands involuntarily moved towards the direction of the sword and saber. However, at this moment, Jing Yu took a step forward and blocked the old man's line of sight. "Senior, we've also just arrived. What happened here? Are there bandits here?" Jing Yu's expression didn't change, and her heart didn't beat fast. She blinked and asked the old man in a very ignorant tone. "Bullshit. How dare those bandits come to my place and cause trouble? Are they tired of living?" When the old man heard Jing Yu's words, he cursed. His beard trembled, and Jing Yu frowned silently. "They're not bandits?" Jing Yu's eyes were filled with doubt. Chapter 2006. Jing Yu looked at the thing in front of her, then turned to the old man and said, "This place doesn't look like a place where a single person could kill their way out. Could there be someone else that's so powerful?" When the old man heard Jing Yu's words, his expression changed. His eyes scanned Jing Yu's group from head to toe, then he laughed coldly and said, "Do you think this old man is a 3-year-old child?" When everyone heard the old man's words, their hearts tightened. Did he find out? Of course this old man knows which bastard did it. When the old man said this, Jing Yu and the others became even more nervous. Even Jing Yu was prepared to make a move. As long as the old man made the slightest move, Jing Yu would make a move without hesitation. However, everyone was prepared to fight at any time, but who would have thought, other than that old bastard Fong Fong, who else could kill this old man's treasures? When the old man said this angrily, Jing Yu and the others were stunned. They looked at the old man in a daze, then jumped up and down and scolded him. "Damned bastard, this old man will definitely burn all of your treasures in one go. You're infuriating me to death. I'm so angry." The old man scolded for a long time, then turned to look at Jing Yu and the others. "Why are you little dolls so nervous? Do you think this old man will suspect that you killed him?" When the old man said this, Jing Yu's heart suddenly jumped up in her throat. Other than this person who's not bad, your little bit of internal energy is not enough. Also, the two of you don't even have an ounce of internal energy. I think you can't even cross this swamp, let alone kill so many crocodiles. Do you really think this old man is stupid? When the old man finished speaking, he looked at Jing Yu and the others proudly and said, "Looking at you guys, you must have been chased by your enemies and fled here, right? Everyone, don't worry, don't worry. This old man likes to help others the most. If someone comes looking for you, I definitely won't tell them about your whereabouts. Hurry up and leave." The little old man said kindly to Jing Yu and the others, as if he was a good person. "Everyone, did they say anything just now?" "Senior, my brother and sister will never forget your great kindness and benevolence. If I can escape this time, I will definitely come here to find Senior and repay your kindness." While everyone was still in a daze, Jing Yu suddenly knelt on one knee. As soon as he said those words of gratitude, Xiao Chen and Qing Ge were even more dumbfounded. What? Siblings? Who was the brother and sister? Sigh. When the old man saw Jing Yu like this and heard her words, he immediately sighed deeply and said, "Little girl, hurry up and get up. If it weren't for the fact that this old man can't leave this place, I would definitely protect you guys. Don't worry, if anyone dares to come to this old man's territory to look for people, I definitely won't leave them alive," the old man said seriously. "Grandpa, you're really too kind. Those crazy bandits killed my family and even wanted to take me by force. If it wasn't for my brother who brought me all the way here, I'm afraid I would have already." When Jing Yu said this, she suddenly choked up. Her face was filled with anger and helplessness, causing the old man's expression to change in horror. Chapter 2007. What? Whose whole family did she kill? Who did she kidnap? Wait a minute, their minds were in a mess. 3rd Interrogation Squad and 15th Interrogation Squad were dumbfounded. Yen Chenyang's face was full of disbelief. When he heard Jing Yu's words, he seemed to suddenly realize that Jing Yu's background was so rough. No wonder she didn't dare to expose it. "Xiao Qin, old grandpa, if I were still alive, I would definitely repay this kindness. My little brother is still waiting for me up ahead. We have to go now." Jing Yu stubbornly reached out to wipe away the non-existent tears. She stood up and bowed deeply to the old man. "Good child, go on, go on." When the old man heard Jing Yu's words, his face was full of anger. He lamented in his heart that this girl's background was so rough. Jing Yu turned and walked a few steps, then turned back with a reluctant look. She bowed gratefully to the old man again, then walked a few more steps and turned back again. Finally, as if she had made up her mind about something, she suddenly turned back and said, "Let's go." such a good child. The old man stood in the same spot and watched Jingyu turn back every 3 steps. He had only said a sentence that he wouldn't reveal their whereabouts, but she treated him like this. One look and he could tell that this girl was someone who valued relationships. What a pity! The old man sighed deeply, thinking that they had to live well. If it weren't for the promise, he wouldn't have to stay here for so long without being able to leave. Jingyu led Xiaoqin and the rest and ran ahead. After running for a full 2 hours, she finally sat down on the ground, panting. She lifted her hand to wipe the cold sweat off her face. Jingyu's legs were practically weak. You scared me to death. Jingyu patted her chest, her face still in shock. Ninth sister, who are you siblings with? Your parents were killed by bandits. Bandits? Want to take you by force? Qinggu stared at Jingyu strangely and asked, Do you still remember your name? Are you a pig? Jingyu looked at Qinggu and suddenly became angry. She reached out and slapped Qingji's head and said, If I didn't say that, do you think we would be able to escape? Everyone, how was it? My acting just now wasn't bad, right? Jingyu raised her eyebrows and smiled proudly. Madam, have you considered Master's feelings? 15th inmate was silent for a long time before he finally turned to look at Jingyu and asked. Jingyu was stunned when she heard this. She turned to look at Xiaoqin's expression. Xiaoqin looked at Jingyu calmly and said slowly, Brother and sister? Xiaoqin, husband, let me explain. Jingyu saw Xiaoqin's expression and quickly went up to him. She looked at Xiaoqin pitifully and said sincerely, Isn't this forced? I swear to God, there won't be a next time. Is that so? Xiaoqin smiled eerily. This smile made Jingyu's hair stand on end, but she still braced herself and tried to coax Xiaoqin. Who said it was hard to coax a woman when she was angry? Look at how scary this man was when he was angry. Qinggu, Third Xing, and the others were used to it, but Yan Chenyang was completely dumbfounded this time. He couldn't figure out the relationship between these people at all. However, when he heard Jingyu say that this was all an act, his heart ached for her. Chapter 2008. Sure enough, she was too immersed in her role. Jingyu was too good at acting. After resting for a while, they continued to move forward without any delay. Once again, they set foot on the main road. Looking at the gradually darkening sky, Jingyu and the others had to find a place to rest. The night in this wasteland was no different from the night in other places. The bonfire was lit and Jingyu, Xiaoqin and the others sat around it. Jingyu, Xiaoqin and the others knew some things about Miaojiang from Yan Chenyang. Everyone sat around the bonfire and talked. I'm going to wash my face. Jingyu felt that her face was sticky with the mask. After saying this to everyone, she turned around and went to the river. She raised her hand and took off the mask. She took the mask and washed it carefully. Then she washed her face. Jingyu washed seriously. She did not see that in the darkness somewhere, a figure was squatting in the grass like a leopard cat. When he saw Jingyu's beautiful face under the moonlight, his eyes suddenly widened. Under the moonlight, her face that was covered with water droplets was so beautiful and moving. Her pair of pitch-black eyes were like gems that shone brightly under the moonlight. Immediately, the person in the darkness hid her body bit by bit. She turned around and flashed into the darkness, disappearing without alerting anyone. Jingyu looked around in the darkness suspiciously. She felt like she was being watched by something. But when she looked around, she did not see anyone. Jingyu calmly raised her eyebrows. She wiped her face dry and put on the mask again. Jingyu, Xiaoqin and the others were sleeping in a place in the wasteland. There was a simple stone house, but there were countless people gathered in it. Boss, we found the prey. The man was dressed in black. Even his face was black. The man excitedly ran in front of a burly man and said excitedly, Boss, we found 6 people. There's even a woman among them. She's so pretty. Just like a fairy. The man exclaimed excitedly as he rushed into the stronghold. Beautiful woman? The burly man's eyes widened in surprise. He raised his hand and pulled over a coquettish woman and asked, "More beautiful than her?" "Beautiful. She's so much more beautiful," the man replied without hesitation. The woman, who had been held back by the burly man, was pleasantly surprised. However, when she heard the man's reply, her face turned ashen. Gold, silver, jewels, and women, we can't let any of them go." The burly man was silent for a moment, then suddenly laughed out loud. He raised his hand and shouted, "Tell the brothers to grab their weapons. Go to Yuan Valley and block the road. I want to see what kind of beauty she is. Big brother, don't worry. I definitely won't let you down." The man was also very excited. The mountain stronghold immediately boiled over. Jingyu did not know that she was being watched. In this wilderness, after an extremely restless sleep, she woke up early in the morning. After eating a simple meal, she continued on her journey. Yuan Valley is in front. Yan Chenyang said, "After leaving this valley, we will reach the boundary of Miaojiang. After reaching the boundary, we will be able to see the town after walking for half a day." Chapter 2009. Jingyu and the rest nodded slowly. When they were on top of the hill, Jingyu frowned when she saw the valley. "Look at the terrain. If there is an ambush, this valley will be very dangerous." Jingyu looked around and frowned worriedly. "There are no bandits here." When Yan Chenyang heard Jingyu's words, he quickly shook his head and said, "Bandits won't be able to rob caravans and supplies here. They are all on the other side of the hill, so you don't have to worry." "I am very suspicious of your words now." Jingyu silently turned to look at Yan Chenyang. When she thought about the swamp, Jingyu had the urge to beat him to death. Wasn't it supposed to be a small swamp? In the end, not only was there a large swamp, there was also a pool of crocodiles and a perverted old man. If it wasn't for Jingyu's quick-wittedness, they would have died 3 times already. Yan Chenyang knew what Jingyu meant and immediately coughed embarrassedly. It was indeed because he hadn't been here for too long. Who would come to such a dangerous place when they had nothing better to do? Yan Chenyang suddenly felt that he wasn't the one leading the way, but rather a burden. "Tell me honestly, when was the last time you came here?" Jingyu stared at Yan Chenyang seriously and asked. "About 15 years ago? Or 10 years ago?" Yan Chenyang carefully said. "But heavens!" Jingyu almost knelt down. 15 years ago. How much had changed in 15 years? Jingyu suddenly regretted. Why did she bring this person here? Cough, cough, cough. "Madam, don't worry. I have a good memory." Yan Chenyang replied seriously. Jingyu pursed her lips and looked at the valley in the distance. She sighed deeply and said, "Even if there is an ambush, we still have to go. Is there a second path?" Yan Chenyang said awkwardly. "I'll trust you one more time." Jingyu muttered to herself. Then she turned around and walked down with Xiao Chen and the others. The deeper they went into the valley, the denser the trees became. Occasionally, 1 or 2 crows would fly by, scaring Qinggu into hiding between Xing San and Xing Shiwu. "Master Qinggu, how did you survive for so many years looking like this?" 15th interrogation officer looked at Qinggu and asked. 15, you're asking the wrong question. Jingyu turned around and looked at Qinggu with a serious expression. "You should ask him, how did you grow up? It's simply too amazing." The corner of Qingji's mouth twitched. "I'm a doctor. Do you know what a doctor is?" Qinggu glared at Jingyu and 15th Xing angrily and said, "I want to study medicine and save people. How would I have the time to practice? If it weren't for me, I'd like to see how you guys would get hurt." Jingyu watched Qinggu walk away arrogantly and pursed her lips. Her eyes were calm as she said happily, "Your medical skills are so good. Did you save any experts? Why don't I see any experts protecting you?" Jingyu's teasing gaze made Qingji's face turn red. He shouted angrily, "Ninth brother, hurry up and control your wife. She's such a bully." Chapter 2010. Xiao Chen replied expressionlessly and continued walking. Qing Gu instantly burst into tears. What should he do if he missed his wife? Indeed, his wife was the best. While Jing Yu and Qing Gu were arguing, they approached the valley. Along the way, they chatted and laughed. It was really interesting. When they entered the valley, they could still hear Qing Gu and 15th Xing arguing behind them. Yan Chenyang would also occasionally interrupt. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were walking at the front. Just as Jing Yu was about to speak to Xiao Chen, she suddenly stopped talking and looked straight into the valley. Why did you stop? Qing Gu looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen, who suddenly stopped walking. His eyes were filled with confusion. Maybe we can't leave. Jing Yu's eyes turned cold as she slowly lowered the longbow in her hand. Ah! Qing Ji's face was still filled with confusion. When Qing Gu turned his head to look, he saw a tall figure riding a fine horse. He had a ferocious look on his face. Then he looked at the black mass of people behind him. These sword-wielding bandits directly surrounded Jing Yu's group. Young Master Yen, who told me that there were no bandits? Jing Yu wanted to strangle Yan Chenyang to death. Yan Chenyang wanted to commit suicide. This situation was different from what he had encountered in the past. In this group, Jing Yu was the only female. Naturally, he saw her at first glance. However, Jing Yu was wearing a mask. The leader on the tall horse stared at Jing Yu with a pair of burning eyes, as if he was sizing up an object. Jing Yu's expression was extremely ugly as she furrowed her brows. Kill all the men, leave the women alive. Although the bandit leader was unable to see Jing Yu's entire face, he was able to tell from just half of Jing Yu's face that she was extraordinary. Furthermore, with her curvaceous figure, the bandit leader was very satisfied. Xiao Chen was instantly unhappy. He reached out and pulled Jing Yu behind him. Looking at the bandit leader, his dark eyes were extremely cold. A strong murderous intent slowly brewed in Xiao Chen's body. Boss Lei, what a coincidence! Just as the bandit on the opposite side was about to give the order, he suddenly heard a hearty laugh behind him. Jing Yu and the rest turned their heads to look. Great, another group of bandits dressed in different colors had arrived. And they really didn't check the almanac before leaving the house. Jing Yu's resentful gaze made Yan Chenyang's scalp tingle. Not only were there bandits coming, there were two groups of bandits. Zhuarong, what are you doing here? The one who was called Boss Lei was the big guy sitting on the horse. Jing Yu felt that the horse was about to be crushed by the big guy. Jing Yu silently turned her head back. Boss Lei is here for something. Naturally, I am here for the same reason. Zhuarong replied with a smile. This Zhuarong didn't look like a bandit leader, but why did Jing Yu have the feeling that this person was more like a scholar? Zhuarong's gaze turned to Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. Finally, his gaze landed on Xiao Chen and then on Jing Yu. Looking at Jing Yu's half-masked face, Zhuarong's eyebrows curved delightedly. Little beauty, how about coming back with this king to be the bandit leader's wife? Zhuarong said delightedly. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.